G'day and welcome to Retire Right. So the other day we were in a JBS team meeting and one of the guys from the salary packaging team, Jeff, pipes up and goes, "You guys speak a different language, and you know what? You should do a video about it." So here I am. Today I'm going to talk about a light-hearted way about the financial planning jargon that you're probably going to come across as you go and see a financial advisor. So initially the first thing you're going to get is a FSG. So essentially a financial services guide. So that's the document that you get before you go and see a financial advisor or at the start of the initial meeting, which talks about who the financial advisor is, what their education is, what their qualification, what's their the way they're going to potentially charge you, and all the important information you need to know about how they're licensed and all those sorts of things. Following on from that, if you go down the path of getting advice from a financial advisor, what you're going to then receive is an SOA, so a statement of advice. So that's often a lengthy document that talks about everything that you spoke about with the financial advisor, and then also summarises it and gives you the specific recommendations that they're recommending that you take out. As part of that SOA, they might talk to you about setting up a SMSF or a self-managed super fund. So essentially that's just a version of a super fund. So you hear a lot of people talk about different types of funds, whether it's an industry fund, a retail fund, or an SMSF. And an SMSF essentially is just another version of a super fund where ultimately you get potentially a little bit more control on those sorts of things. Within that SMSF, if you wanted to go down the path of borrowing to buy a property within a super fund, you'd be looking at an LRBA, or a limited recourse borrowing arrangement, which essentially is just the structuring and the documentation that allows a super fund to borrow to purchase a property. And that can be a great strategy potentially for people who are self-employed, and they can buy their own potential commercial property or their factory or whatever they want to run their own business out of. So after a period of time and you get to the appropriate age, you might be able to then look at doing a TRIS or a TRAP or a TTR pension. So a TTR pension is a transition to retirement pension. It essentially was set up under legislation to allow you to start or transition to retirement by starting that process of reducing hours but using your super to allow you to top up income. Now there's a fair few changes going on in this sector as we speak going into the end of the financial year, so you'll hear a lot about TTRs and TRISs and TRAPs potentially now between now and the end of the financial year, so just keep an eye out for that because it's an area that's continually to change. Once you meet your condition of release, you have an account-based pension, or an ABP I guess, and that's essentially where you go from part retirement to full retirement and you use the income from your super fund accordingly. Now there's going to be a lot of people who are wanting to do that condition of release, which generally is either retirement or age 65, in order to meet the new tax advantages of moving from a TRIS to an account-based pension. So just keep an eye out for that one between now and the 30th of June. So over time you've built up all this wealth within your super and you want to make sure it goes to the right person at the right time. So then you're going to use a BDBN because superannuation isn't automatically an estate asset. So the appropriately executed BDBN makes sure that the right person gets the right money at the right time in the most tax effective manner. So in summary, you're going to get an FSG followed by an SOA. The SOA is going to talk about whether you should open up an SMSF. And in the SMSF, are you old enough to do a TTR? If you are old enough to do a TTR, have you met a condition release to get you to do a ABP? And if you have got an ABP, that's going to last you for a long time, but once you pass away, you're going to use a BDBN to make sure it goes to the right people at the right time. So hopefully you're saying LOL rather than WTF. And remember, you're never too old and never too young to start thinking about your retirement. Yes! Nailed it. Finally! SMSF and use a TTR to then transition towards an ABC. ABC. What the hell's an ABC? In summary, you're going to get an FSG followed by an SOA, which talks about opening up an SMSF and using a TTR to then transition towards an ABP. After the ABP, you're going to make sure that when it actually part ABP. ABP, how hard is it?